Well, welcome to Wednesday night's virtual tasting of our featured effing beer of the week. You guys are in for a special treat. Well, actually, if you were here, you'd be in for a special treat. I'm in for a special treat here, and I'll share all my excitement with you guys so you can participate as close as you can. It's our 2020 anniversary ale, and we have some special. I have a bee here that wants in here too, but we've got our 2020 right here. We have our 2019 from a bottle, and we have a 2013. So we have a 7-year-old, 1-year-old, and a fresh. And we're going to talk about some of the characteristics of how the beer does on its aging process. Not every bottle behaves the same, so could be a surprise, it could be a jackpot, or it could be a disappointment. That's kind of the chances you take with bottle aging some beers. So it's a lot of fun, and when you hit a jackpot, it's well worth it. So 2020, which was our 10th anniversary year, and I got this little yellow jacket that wants to join in, so hopefully he doesn't bother us too much. He won't drink much. I don't want to end up getting stung here. So it's an English Old Ale, and English Old Ales were really brewed to be saved, stored, and brought out for celebrations. You make an old ale, you put it away, and you have a wedding, you bring it out. You have a special birthday, you bring it out. A special anniversary, major accomplishment, or a really cool event that you want to share with people, and you break out some old ales and open them up and join the celebration together through sharing beer. So this beer is 6.8% in alcohol by volume, and it's 55 IBUs, International Bitterness Unit. If you're a home brewer, some of the key numbers are 1067 is the original gravity, and 1014 is the terminal gravity. Color on this beer when it was brand new is 17.1, and we will talk about some of the color changes over time. When we mash this in, we mash it at a colder temperature, 148 degrees. We want to make sure that we had a clean fermentation, so we got shorter chain sugars that were easier to convert to alcohol. It was a 15.5 gallon batch, or a half barrel. London water was our water profile, and we use the Fuller's yeast, which the Fuller's yeast that we use is White Labs 002. There's only 3 malts in this beer, but they're all English, and they all come from the Crisp malting facility. So we have their Maris Otter at 80% of the malt bill, or 32 pounds. We use their Amber Malt, 4 pounds, or 10%, and we use their Crystal 77, another 4 pounds, for another 10%. Milled it in, mashed it in at 148 degrees for 60 minutes. We sparged it with 170 degree water to make sure that we were able to extract all the sugar that was clinging to the husks of the grains, collect it in a boil kettle, boil it for 1 hour. At 60 minutes left in the boil, that's right when the boil started, we added 6 ounces of East Kent Goldings from the UK, which gave us 46 IBUs, and then with 15 minutes left, we added another 4.75 ounces of the same East Kent Golding UK variety to give us the nice hop character. We let it ferment for 2 weeks at 68 degrees. We transferred it into secondary, and it was in for 7 days at 32 degrees, so it's natural filtration. And then we carbonated at 1.5 volumes. The result is what we have here. And if we've done this beer before, but we've never really done the profile of tasting it versus a variety of years. And so let's talk about this beer. So we've got the Maris Otter, which has got a nice nutty, biscuity flavor profile. The Amber Malt's got more of a rich, little warm tones, maybe a little toffee-likeness. And then we have the Crystal 77 that's going to give some nice sweet qualities to it. The UK Goldings are going to give us nice, earthy, dry bitterness, which is going to give us a really dry finish on the tongue. Let's try the 2020 first. well, delicious in every way. 2020 is really well balanced. It's got enough hop character in there to pull the sweetness away. You get a little upfront biscuity, maybe a little toffee tones. Back of the tongue, you get a little bit of, I'd say, a little more aggressive toffee, maybe a little bit of some dried prunes, maybe a little bit of fig, and on the finish, nice dry finish that leaves your mouth really asking for a little bit more drink, because it's on that really nice dry character that is not overly dry. It's the kind of dry that you want to keep wet, and you want to keep it wet with the same beer you just drank. Delicious. So 1 year, and really at this point it's really 1.5 years older, is the 2019. Now this was the 2020 was poured off of tap, so out of keg. This 19 is being tasted from a bottle, so it's been in here for 1.5 years. And if we can look at the color characteristics, it's a little bit brighter in color. I don't know if you can see the 19, and I'm kind of surprised by that. It also has a little bit more carbonation. I can see the carbonation flowing up. It's been in that bottle for 1.5 years, so it's eating through either residual sugars left and adding a little bit more carbonation to the beer at this point in its life cycle. And it's maintaining a nice head on there, and that's been poured about a half hour. So it's interesting, so that carbonation's keeping the head profile looking really very handsome. When I smell the two, I get much more of a robust malt flavor out of the 2020 than I do from the 2019. I even get the yeast profile, the yeast esters coming out of the 2020. Not picking up on the 19. Very subtle on the aromas. It's a little lighter on the palate. It's got a lot of the same characters, but not as intense. It's a little smoother. But I'm still getting that biscuity, toasty, upfront taste. I'm getting some of that warm toffee tones on the back of the tongue, and I'd say maybe it's a little bit more pronounced dryness on the finish, which I'm surprised about. But I would say the intensity of it is I'm getting less intensity on the 2019 of all the flavors than I am on the 2020. And I think that's probably from the beginning of the bottle conditioning, the aging, different items in the beer starting to break down slowly. And this was stored at 40 degrees for 1.5 years. Very enjoyable. I think if I was going to drink them in order, I would drink the 19 first, then the 20, just because there's a little less depth on the 19 than there is in the 20. Very nice. I see some questions coming in. After I do this initial tasting, I'll pull it closer to me so we can talk about some of your questions. So if we look at the 13, quite a bit darker. A lot darker, a little more hazy. That's 7 years of the aging profile of breaking sugars down, the decaying of proteins, and it might sound like it doesn't very tasty, but that's when all the great characters come out if it does it the way you want it to do it. Oh, the smell of this is absolutely incredible. It's got such a rich, more, I'd say, port-like smell to it. Very rich, not hoppy at all, no estery. This is a fruity, richness. It just is, boy, it smells really good. Well, I think I picked the luck of the draw because that bottle has lived a good life. Wow, I'm picking up some sherry tones, some port tones, some really great fruit flavors. Now we're talking about dried fruit flavors, rich apricot, fig, prune, raisin, toasty caramelness. It's all about sweet, rich maltiness and fruitiness. Finish is a little sweeter than either one of these, but not in a obnoxious way that it's not going to make you want to drink some more. It is fantastic. This is one that you'd be proud to have aged. You've been proud to bring it out and share with a few friends and say well done or congratulations, and to toast this beer. Wow, that's exciting. When beer becomes exciting, you know something really went well. Let me pull my phone a little closer so I can read your comments, and we can keep chatting and keep tasting. Let me go back to the early ones. So we've got, well, first of all, somebody's drinking a pint of Swoop in an effing 9th anniversary glass to watch this. So well done, Zach. Anthony says it looks dark for an ale. Well, the old ale is going to have, because the Crystal 77 in the amber malt has quite a bit of color, and as I mentioned, it's a 17.1 SRM, which is pretty dark. It's not a light beer, it's a moderate beer. I mean, the color on the Fresh 2020 is, I'd say it's a dark bronze color, and then we get into the 2013, that's a deep deep bronze color, and this one's a light bronze color, so it's in that bronzy character category for color. Are the colors of the ales various beers different? Is it really an ale, or is it just a nomenclature? Well, no, this is an ale. So, I mean, the big thing about beer characteristics, you've got ales and you've got lagers, and it's the kind of yeast you use. So ales are top fermenting yeast, so as they are fermenting, the yeast is on top and it pulls all the sugars to the top, and lagers are bottom fermenting yeast, and they pull all the sugars to the bottom and they ferment on the bottom of the fermenter. So that is really the difference. So I would say the temp of these right now is probably about 55 degrees, which I think is perfect. I wouldn't want it any colder, and being very warm outside, I'm going to have to, it would be fine probably up to 60 degrees, and that's probably where they'll get before I finish these, because it's a lot of beer to drink. So somebody asked about the anniversary vertical ale tasting, and it was supposed to be in March, and COVID shut us down. So let me turn this. You can't see me very well. COVID shut us down, and it is sold out, but it's all 10 years of our anniversary ales from our 2011 first. We have a couple bottles left all the way to 2020. So when we can do it, we're going to do it. And what an exciting experience that is to taste 10 years of the same beer. And there will be no more tickets for it, because I don't think we have enough of some of the older years to make it through another year. Maybe we will, but when we have it, it is sold out for this year, and hopefully we get to do it before the weather turns bad, because we could have it outside if we can move into a more comfortable phase to be able to accomplish that. Brighter but less translucent. That's a good way of putting it there. Thanks, Anthony. Let me tell you that we use the same recipe every year on these beers, but there's a lot of things that we have no control over. So the malts each year have a different growing condition. Is it colder? Is it warmer? Is it drier? Was it wetter? That's going to make a difference on how the grains are how they're utilized in the batch. Same thing with the hops. So we don't make any adjustments based on each year's profile. We're using the same percentages that we do each year, and that's kind of the fun thing. So we're getting a combination of weather-related things that are affecting the growing conditions for the ingredients in the beer, and we brew it the same way every year. Zach says on the FNX bottles, they are extremely carbonated. Yeah, so we actually wanted them to be a little bit more carbonated. That beer really relates to it. Be careful when you're opening up older beers. I was really careful when I opened up the 19 and the 13. You never know how carbonated they're going to be, so you don't want to lose half a beer. And so the key is to gently pry off the cap and let some of that CO2 escape and get a good handle on what you think you're going to experience before you open it all the way, because you do want to end up with a beer to drink. You don't want the beer on the floor. Doesn't aging usually reduce haze? Well, two things. So over time, sediment's going to drop to the bottom of the bottle, but over time, also you have so much decaying of the proteins and sugars in the beer, which is going to create some haze. So I would say, as you can see, this is brighter, but I would say that it's clearer than this. It's probably hard for you to see that on the phone picture, but I would say the first couple of years you're going to get a clearer beer, and then after that you're going to start getting back more to some haze, just from all that the aging characteristics of the beer. Hazy English Old Ale? No. No, we don't do that. We don't do hazies. We don't do juicies. We just do regular good old beer. And I like the comment from Gordon saying sounds yummy. So, English Old Ale marketing message: these bottles have lived good lives and need to find good homes. Well, absolutely. And if you're going to invest some money in these beers to age them, you have to give them a good life, and that is storing them at cellar temperatures. So really anything under 50 degrees is good. I think 40 degrees is better. It reduces the chance of even additional carbonation to occur, and you don't want any bottles to break when you're conditioning them and storing them. These have been aged at 40 degrees, and I think that's a really good temperature for aging. Now, bottles are going to age really, really well, differently than they would in a keg, because the keg is a closed container, and so there's no oxidation that can occur. On a bottle, you've got the cap on top, and it's not a complete airtight seal, so air can come in, and that's one of the nice things. You want a little bit of that air to get in there, so you have a little bit of that additional character of the aging. And if you go to England, sometimes they will be aging these in different kinds of environments. And back when cigars and cigarettes and were smoked in pub atmospheres, if they were aging these beers in casks or in bottles in a pub that had a lot of smoke or no smoke, or the different kind of foods they would serve, it absorbs some of the outside elements in those beers, and so they would be different from one location to another, which is pretty interesting as well. What do I like better, the 2020 or 2019? I think that I like them both, but I like the depth of the 2020 right now versus the 2019. And I've always thought, through all the years we've been doing our anniversary ale, that the 1 year and 2 year olds are kind of in that early aging process, and they're not my favorite years of a aged beer. Although this 2019 is tasting really, really good. I think it's going to be really good in a couple more years, even better than it is right now. So, what I encourage people to do is, if you really like a beer style or a beer and you're tasting it now, and it has to be really over 6% alcohol for a beer that's going to be aging, and you don't want to do it with a hoppy beer because the hops drop out so fast. You want a beer that's malt forward. It's got a nice alcohol content in it that'll withstand the aging characteristics. And you stash it away at 40 degrees or so, and sample it. I would say that buying a case of this beer, the 2020, you could drink one now and drink one every year, and you'd have it for 11 years. So, or 12 years. Or if you have to drink two some years, maybe you only have it for 6 years. But the point is, you could experience it and taste it as it's taken case, and you want to make sure you maintain it. Don't throw it in your attic where it maybe get over 90 degrees, or leave it in your garage where it may get really, really hot. If you have a cellar, that's fine. A lot of people do, and it stays, in the 50s all the time, 40s and 50s. Or if you've got some refrigeration that you can put it in, that'd be great. Now, when you store them upright. Do not put them on their side. You don't want the cap being touching the beer. That's not good for the beer. Let's go over the recipe again, and keep the questions flying in if you got any. So if you're a home brewer, you're going to want to make some notes here, or you can look at this again because I'm going to archive this on our Foggy Noggin Brewing Facebook page. But it's a 6.8% alcohol by volume, 55 IBUs, and our original gravity is 1067, and terminal gravity is 1014. Color is 17.1 SRM, and we mash it in at 148. We use White Labs 002, which is the Fuller's yeast, and we use London water profile. 3 malts. Crisp is the manufacturer of all of them. We use their Maris Otter 80%, which was 32 pounds. We use their Amber and their Crystal 77, each of them with 4 pounds, and that's 10% each. Hops, 2 hop additions, 60 minutes left in the boil, which is right when the boil starts. 46 IBUs come out of 6 ounces of East Kent Goldings from the UK. And at 15 minutes left, we had another 4.75 ounces to give us 9 IBUs of the same hop, the East Kent Goldings from the UK. We let it ferment for 2 weeks at 68 degrees. We transfer it to secondary fermentation at 32 degrees to naturally clean the beer out, and all the sediment will drop out and all the yeast will drop out, and then we transfer it to kegs, force carbonate at 1.5 volumes, and that gives us our product. And Zach, you're right on. Malt forward beers over 6% are going to be your best chances to have a good aged beer. Let's do a taste one more time. So 2020. Deliciously yummy biscuit, toasty, bready up front, warm toffee tones in the middle of the tongue, which is some of the alcohol. Finishes with a nice dry bitterness. I get a touch of, now it's warmed up, I'm even getting some yeast esters, maybe a little dried apricot in there. I'm tasting a little bit of maybe some burnt raisin, and again, a nice toffee lingering finish in my mouth. The 2019. I think everything I said in this beer, but on a reduction and on the intensity of everything. Same flavors, same finish, just a lighter profile on it. Delicious. A little bit more carbonation, which is probably adding to some of that lightness that I'm percepting, because carbonation does take some of the taste away from you. It's been in the glass now for about 45 minutes, and still quite a bit of carbonation coming up. And the 13. This is heaven. This is absolutely an incredible beer. There is enough for some bottle sales this weekend of the 13. I'll tell you, it's expensive. So, and I can't guarantee that each bottle is going to taste like this one. I just randomly picked one, and I'm very happy with the one I picked. It's $120 for the 2013. The 2019 is $20, and the 2020 and 22-ounce bottles is $10, and growler fills of the 2020 are $22. I encourage you to pick up some 2020, more than a bottle, so you can age some. And if you want to venture, we have the 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, and 13 available. And they all have different prices. If you go to our foggynogginbrewing.com website, hit the beer tab, and it'll have everything that's available this weekend, including all the anniversaries and the prices for the 22-ounce bottles. Boy, this 13 is If if you have a special occasion coming up, that would be a good one to invest in. Really would be. That's tasty. 2013. Zach says maybe a high ABV super sweet porter or stout would be a good candidate. Probably. I think they probably do really well. Those are typically beers that will age very good. And I've ever done anniversary in cask. Well, we did it in 2019 and in 18 for our fresh version. On our Friday, we released a cask, and we were planning on doing a cask this year on the Friday of our anniversary weekend, but COVID stopped that. So, yes, and this is a great beer on cask. And we will even put some more whole hops into that cask, so you give it a little bit more hops aroma, hop flavor, but not hop bitterness. So, anniversary ales, delicious beer. If you like malty beers that are well balanced, this is really a go-to, and it's one of my favorite beers, and I really enjoy brewing this beer. And you can get the 2020 in growler fills for $22. You can get it in bottles for $10. I'd buy a case of them now while they're available. 2019, there still is case purchases available on this one. They're $20 a piece. Tasting awesome. And then the 13, and the prices progress all the way down between all the other years, but all the way down to 13, which is the oldest one that's available for sale, is $120. And if you pick this one, you would not be disappointed. Zach said, I never heard of a tasted and aged beer before the Foggy Noggin. It's such a unique and delicious thing. Why aren't more people doing it? Well, I think people are. I think maybe they don't advertise as well, or maybe you're not that in tune with that brewery on the things they're doing. I'm not the only one, and I think that a lot of people do those vintage beers that are big, and they're really, really good to hold on to, and it's hard to. You look at it and go, I want to taste that, and you have to have a little impulse, or that's why you buy more than one bottle, so you can maybe drink one and still save one. And as far as aging beer, I mean, you wouldn't want to age a Budweiser or something like that. That's not going to be very good. It's not that good to begin with. So, and why do we don't can? We never will can, and you're not going to get the aging characteristic out of the beers if you do put it into cans. So, bottles, growlers, kegs. Draft beer is best, I think, and bottles and growlers are second best, and cans defeat the purpose of what you're intending to do. You want to drink your beer out of glass. You don't want to drink your beer out of aluminum. When you are thirsty and you want a glass of water, you don't grab an aluminum can and pour your water into it. You drink that out of a nice clean glass. And so we put it in clean bottles or clean growlers, and that's what you want to have. So never cans here, and that's kind of one of our items that we do. What food would you pair with it? This would go with a lot of things. It would go, because it's malt forward, it's going to go with, it could go with spicy foods, it can go with rich foods, it can go with cheeses and crackers. I think this is a very versatile beer to go with a lot of food. So for tomorrow at 5:30 is the Happy Half Hour. We have a new live segment, and hope you tune in on our Facebook Live broadcast of Happy Half Hour. Some fun music and singing, and just a good old time for a half hour. And next week, we are taking next week off, so there's no virtual tasting next week or virtual happy half hour. But you want to tune in this Thursday, because you don't want to miss. You don't want to be 2 weeks without watching. So tomorrow 5:30, happy half hour. Get your drink of choice. Get your dancing shoes on. Be ready to sing, dance, and just have a good old time. And it's for the whole family. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I hope to see you this weekend for your curbside pickups. Make sure you consider some of these anniversary ales to add to your pickup list, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.